Hey y'all, today I'm going to be talking about something not what I normally talk about, and I'm just going to be sharing an experience that I had, and that experience is having a dermoid ovarian cyst surgically removed while pregnant. I want to start this off by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, this is not medical advice, listen to your doctor, do what they say, this is just my story. So last year, I found out I was pregnant in February, and in March I went to have my first appointment. And your first appointment is when you're 8 weeks pregnant. You go to the doctor. I had my husband with me. We were so nervous, excited, all of those feelings. And we go in and she does a ultrasound on me to check the heartbeat. And there was a heartbeat. She said it was good, healthy fetus, but my ovary was swollen to about 3 times what is normal. So it was about 6 centimeters across. And to me, I said, okay, sure, whatever. I mean, I'm not a medical professional. I didn't know what that meant. I was so focused on the baby and the pregnancy that I just kind of said, okay, cool, my ovary's big. But obviously she was upset about that, and she ordered for me to come in the next week and have a second higher level ultrasound with maternal fetal medicine, which is the group kind of adjacent to OBGYN that works with people who have a problem during their pregnancy that just needs closer monitoring, and they have better ultrasound equipment. So I came in the next week, and my husband actually couldn't come with me, so I was by myself, and I went in and had a ultrasound done to check out my ovary. So this was kind of the first time that I realized it was serious. The ultrasound tech, and she actually had a student with her, had the ultrasound wand, and once she got in there and finally got to my ovaries, what she was trying to look at, she just said, "Whoa, that is huge." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Your ovary is huge. I've never seen anything like this." And that's when it kind of clicked in my mind, like, this is not normal. This is something really weird going on. So my doctor called me, it was a day, maybe 2 days later, and said that it definitely was some sort of cyst in there. She thought that it was a dermoid cyst because in the ultrasound you could see it was mostly liquid with a solid pocket on the bottom. And that's what a dermoid cyst is. It's either fat, hair, teeth, bones. It's a cell that, forgive me if my medical is wrong, but it is a cell that when you're born, when it first becomes, it should be a tissue cell, but it gets confused and becomes bone, teeth, fat, something like that instead. And then the rest of the sort of mass of my ovary was swollen with a liquid around the solid. So she couldn't tell exactly what it was. It's amazing how good yet bad their ultrasound equipment is. She could just see solid and liquid. And her recommendation was to have it surgically removed, and her recommendation was to do it when I was 15 weeks pregnant. This would get us out of the first trimester, and so once you're in the second trimester, the fetus has developed enough that it has a better chance of survival through the trauma of surgery and anesthesia, according to her, not a doctor. But 15 weeks was a good window because it was before I got too pregnant, because once my uterus was swollen too large, it was going to be harder to do the surgery. There's going to be this big swollen thing in the way. If we went ahead and did it at 15 weeks, they could do it laparoscopically, which means they cut 3 little holes, stick in a camera, a flashlight, and the knife in the 3 little holes. If you wait longer, they have to cut you like a C-section. And if you wait in your 3rd trimester, sometimes they have to cut you vertically. So her recommendation was at 15 weeks gestation to get this surgery and get the cyst surgically removed. I had a breakdown. Not really on the phone with her. I hung up. I was actually at work, of course, but I was out in the parking lot, called my husband, and I just had a breakdown. I didn't want to get surgery. I had never had surgery before in my entire life except my wisdom teeth. I definitely didn't want to get surgery. I definitely didn't want to get surgery while pregnant. And one of the weirdest things about this whole thing was that I had no symptoms. I had no swelling. I had no pain. I had no bleeding. I felt fine. And it is really hard I don't know if it's hard for doctors too, but to me, as a non-medical person, it is hard to have no symptoms and sign up to go get surgery to fix something that you can't see. You just have to trust that this doctor really found a problem and that they were going to fix it, and that it was necessary, and that the risk of not getting the surgery is worse than the risk of the surgery. So I ended up getting a few different opinions. I saw the head OB at the hospital. Unfortunately, because I worked at the hospital at that time, I was limited with my health insurance that I had to go to this one hospital. But it's a big, good hospital for where we live. But I got a few opinions, and the general consensus was this thing has to come out. It's either going to come out now, before the baby's born, by choice at 15 weeks, or it's going to burst between now and when the baby is born, in which case you will need emergency surgery to have it emergency cleaned out, and also the liquid that's in there gets all on your insides and they have to wash you out. Sounded bad. Or if it lasts through the pregnancy, then after 6 to 8 weeks after the delivery, you have to have it removed. So that was kind of I guess I'm getting surgery no matter what. I didn't want surgery while I was pregnant, but I really didn't want emergency surgery while I was pregnant. And then I also didn't want surgery 6 to 8 weeks after having a baby. So all three of the options sucked. I would say emergency surgery where it exploded would be the worst. And then I had to decide, all things considered, would I rather get the surgery 15 weeks pregnant? And they said there would be no effects on the baby from the anesthesia, but you just have to trust that. Or would I rather wait and be 6 to 8 weeks postpartum and get surgery then? That sounds crappy too, and I'd have a baby, and I'd be on maternity leave, so I wouldn't get to, this is silly, but getting the surgery before, I was able to use sick leave, and then it didn't affect my maternity leave. So that was a consideration, having the time off of work. So in the end, after a lot of crying, talking it out to everyone, posting it on so many forums on the internet, Googling, I decided to have the surgery at 15 weeks. So I went in for another ultrasound at 14 weeks, 1 week before my surgery, and they checked out the cyst, and my ovary had grown to 11 centimeters across, which it had basically doubled from 8 weeks pregnancy to 14 weeks pregnancy. That's how wide my ovary was. So obviously that was bad, and I felt that I had made the right decision. This thing was growing. It was just a matter of time before it was going to burst. So I went in, this was the first week of May, I went in to get the surgery. I had to be there at 5:30 in the morning, and I was scared. I was scared about myself. Selfishly, I'd never had surgery before, and it's just scary to think of that you are being put unconscious and totally in someone else's hands. I was scared for my baby. I didn't know him yet, but I didn't want anything bad to happen to him. And I don't know, I kept thinking, if he ends up with some sort of problem from this, am I ever going to be able to forgive myself for making this decision? And I was just nervous in general. I went in and I had to be there at 5:30. They prepped me, put all these different things in my arms. I was just joking and having a good time, laughing around with the nurses. And then it became time to go back there. And I just started crying. And I feel like I was very stoic crying, not like I was boohooing and wailing around, but tears were running down my face, and I was just laying back, crying and crying and crying. I was just so scared. And then nurse anesthetist ended up having to give me some special medicine to knock me out before they rolled me back there. I wasn't unconscious, but it just mellowed me out because I was a wreck. So I got back there, and it's amazing, having been in the OR twice in the last year now, it's amazing how small the little room is. You see it on TV and you think it's this big thing, but you're really in just an office, and there was only maybe 5 people in there, and it was very calm, very relaxed. I had to breathe in the mask. About 10 times, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up. The surgery only took 1 hour, and my husband just went and sat on a bench outside, and one of his best friends was a resident at the hospital at the time, so they met up and sat on the bench and chatted, and before he knew it, he was being called back in. And he came up to the recovery room, and this is how he tells it. He says he walks in, he was so nervous, so worried about me. Walks in, and I'm awake, lean back in this bed, and I just give him the nastiest look, like. And apparently these drugs made me very mean. I was mean to him, just like nasty face, side eye. But also I was a little bit mean to the resident who did this. So if you're watching this, I apologize. I was out of my mind, I'm sure you know. But I just was so upset. I said, I can't believe you can take my ovary out of my belly button, but you can't tell me the sex of my effing baby. So the resident had me on the bed, and she used the monitor, and she found the baby's heartbeat. She said nothing went wrong, everything was good, he was good, I was good. Then the OB came in, my surgeon, and she actually told me that because of where the cyst lied on my ovary, they thought it would be on the outside. Once they got in there, it was actually inside the ovary. They couldn't remove it. There was nothing to remove it from. They had to remove my whole ovary, and due to the size that had swollen, it had compressed my tube, and that was sort of damaged beyond repair. And so the whole ovary and the tube came out. That was not my first choice. I had asked her to save it if possible. She assured me that I shouldn't have any fertility problems with one healthy ovary and tube. We will find out in the future, but there's nothing I could do. I mean, that's what she said had to be done. So after the surgery, I had to sit in the recovery room for about an hour, and then I had to prove that I could go to the bathroom by myself. I just had to pee in the toilet, and I was fine. And so then they sent me home. So it was really an outpatient procedure. So after having that done, I was brought home and just kind of plopped on the couch. And the medication that I was on was Oxy. And I still think it's really funny that I wasn't allowed to take Advil while I was pregnant, but Oxy was okay. And I basically slept that whole day. That was Wednesday. Slept for the rest of the day. Sean, my husband, took the day off work. He legitimately worked. Well, I think Wednesday he didn't work. He stayed at home and just chilled with me. Thursday and Friday he worked from home. Was here just because I couldn't drive. We didn't know how I'd be feeling. Thursday, Friday, I was a little bit more alert, less sleeping. I just sat on the couch and watched TV all day and played on my computer. I was on Oxy, and then I went down to Motrin and Tylenol. I really try not to stay on Oxy too long after a procedure. So I was home, got the surgery done Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, just hung out on the couch, took it easy all weekend. We made a big effort to do loops around the neighborhood, walk around the block, and that's because when they do this surgery, they put little holes in you and they inflate your stomach with air. And the surgeon convinced me that she was really good at getting the air out, but walking and moving really helps to get it out of your stomach as well. So we did really slow laps around the neighborhood a few times a day, and I think that definitely helped because some people get gas pain which is not like fart gas, it's the gas from your stomach getting out. And I didn't really have any of that, and I think that it's because I sat up right away, even though I was on the couch, and then walking, and even before I was brave enough to walk around the block, I just walked from the living room to the front of the house and back a few times to sort of get that movement going. So the surgery was on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, the weekend I recovered, and Monday I went back to work. Now, to be fair, I have a desk job, and my boss let me work from home for a week. So Monday to Friday, that first week, I worked from home the whole time. But I honestly could have been at my desk. If I had a physical job, I think that I would have wanted about 10 days off total. Because I was fine to stand, I was fine to walk slowly. But the act of standing up or bending my stomach at all was very uncomfortable. I work from home. Totally was able to work, was not on the good drugs, was just on Tylenol, and by the time I went back to work the following Monday, I felt good as new. My scars are super tiny. I will show a picture of what they looked like right after the surgery. They looked almost wet, but that is because they put this glue on the outside that was dry, but it was just kind of shiny looking. And then I have a picture of what the scars look like a couple of months later, and then I will share what they look like now, which is almost 1 year later, 11 months later. Now, it's just dark, it's completely smooth, not raised at all. The one inside my belly button, totally hidden. When I was very pregnant, you could see it inside my belly button because my belly button popped out. So the big question that I get emailed to me a lot is, how did the rest of my pregnancy go? And the answer is it went totally fine. I'm so glad that I got this surgery done when I did, because I was worrying. I was so worried that it was gonna burst. I would feel any kind of twinge, and I was afraid, that's it, that's my cyst about to explode. And as soon as I had the surgery done, as much as I was in a bit of pain, as much as I was recovering from major abdominal surgery, I was relieved. I was so glad that this was over with and that I could go on and have a normal pregnancy. So I had no side effects from the surgery for the rest of my pregnancy. I had high blood pressure at the end, but that was unrelated. And I ended up having to get a C-section, but that was also unrelated. That was related to my blood pressure. Well, because my blood pressure, they induced me just a little bit early, and he wasn't ready to be born. I was in labor for 2 days, pushed for over 2 hours. He never came down the chute at all, and so we ended up with a C-section. It had nothing to do with my cyst. It's okay. He was born totally normal, doesn't have any problems from being under anesthesia while in the womb, and he's a great, fabulous baby. And I will say I'm very glad that I didn't have to get surgery 6 to 8 weeks postpartum, because that would have been really hard. That was a really hard time. Yeah, I mean, the one mystery that still lays before me is, how will my fertility be after this? Will I be able to get pregnant again easily or at all? And the answer is, I can't tell you. I don't know yet. We will see. I'm definitely not trying to get pregnant yet. So time will only tell. Though we have said, if I can't get pregnant again, we're happy with the baby we have. So it's not the end of the world either way. I'm just glad that I was never in a lot of pain, in distress, that the baby was fine, was healthy. I feel that I made the best decision for me, but you have to make the best decision for you if you're in this scenario. If you want to talk about it, you can comment, you can message me, you can email me. I'd be glad to give you any support that I can. You have to trust in your doctors is the big thing. You need a team that you can put your full faith in. And you just gotta hope for the best. I mean, you're in a crummy situation, but there's people in worse situations. If you try and keep it in perspective, at least you live now and not in the 1800s when you just would have, your cyst would have burst and you would have gotten an infection and died. On that note, I hope this was helpful. If you are also facing a dermoid cyst or any kind of surgery while you were pregnant, if not, I hope this was informative for anyone who's just interested. And leave me a comment if you have any questions, and I will definitely follow up. Thanks for watching.